Tell us, would you rather be wealthy or famous?
There was a study I read where they asked a group of people if they'd rather be wealthy or famous, and the majority of them said famous. The people conducting the study asked why, and they were like, well, isn't it the same thing? It's not.
No. Wealth and fame are not the same, and we're going to talk about the 3 key differences. So grab your cup of coffee and meet us right back here.
Coffee with Mojo in the morning.
You're here. Welcome. I'm your host, Molly Ann Luna.
And I'm your co-host, Javon Luna.
And today we are talking about the differences between wealth and fame because despite what most people think, they're not the same.
But before we go into that, I want you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell notification for us.
Ding.
It's very important.
We send out new episodes every single week, and then we want to invite you to come take the conversation even further inside of our Mojo Insiders Room. So here's the deal. Full disclosure, Javon and I, neither one of us, I guess, would technically fall into the super wealthy or definitely not the famous category.
Yeah, we're literally not wealthy. Literally.
We make a good living.
Well, we're not
I don't know
wealthy.
if you call me wealthy. So despite us being neither, we still feel qualified to share with you the differences between the two.
Because you don't have to be wealthy to understand these concepts. Number one, wealth comes from goods and services. Everybody knows that.
I hope you know that.
You receive money from selling a product or from offering a service.
You gotta give something to get something.
Even look at the stock market. It's trading services, it's trading companies, it's trading stocks and shares. These are items.
You go to your 9-to-5 gig, you're exchanging your time, your life.
For money.
For money. Well, sorry, I'm not into 9-to-5 gigs myself, but if you are, cool, maybe you love it. I don't know.
But what you cannot do is go into Wells Fargo Bank, show them your Instagram account with 10 million followers, and then them hand you $10 million.
That is so, oh my God, I'm so glad you bring that up. Like, please listen. Your Instagram following, your Facebook following, your Twitter following, whatever your social media platform of choice is, does not equate to wealth. Do not let yourself be bamboozled by some of those social media influencers who you think are making it big, because it does not exactly equate to dollars in the bank.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, there are some Instagram influencers that are making money and have figured out ways to leverage their popularity and their followers. But even in their leveraging and making money, it's because they leverage their audience with services and goods. That's how they ended up amassing wealth by being famous, so to speak, is because they offered a product and a service and they presented it to their followers.
Absolutely.
Can't avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some incredible social media influencers out there who are also savvy business people who are making it happen. But I want to tell it to you straight that just because you look at someone's social media account, we'll just even say, for instance, mine, I do not yet have millions of followers, but that does not mean that I'm not very profitable in my business. So if you're just starting out, don't make the mistake that you think you've got to grow your following first in order to profit.
Don't focus on your following, focus on your goods and your services. And in focusing on your goods and services, your following will come because your services and your goods will have a reputation that will draw people to you. That needs to be the focus.
Yeah. So the first bullet point here is just understanding first and foremost what wealth is. Now, I know I tend to teach True Wealth, which is based off of Napoleon Hill's core teachings, and he actually talks about wealth as being in 12 different categories, money being one of the last of them. But for today's conversation completely, we're talking specifically about the dinero.
And speaking of this, wealth is something that's spendable. And to go back to what I was talking about, you can go to a Wells Fargo bank and withdraw $10 million if you have $10 million. But you cannot go to Wells Fargo Bank, yet again, with your Instagram account that shows 10 million followers and withdraw $10 million. It doesn't work that way. You can't spend followers. Talking about having followers is a great opener at a bar, but it does not put money in your pocket. It's just that simple. Like, you can spend wealth, but you cannot spend followers. Because talking about this, it's like fame. People are doing so many things to be famous. Like, They're doing pranks. They're doing all these different things because they just want to be famous. Because people feel like they want to feel significant. And if you've been following us, we did a video on core values where we talked about feeling significant because it is
who doesn't want to feel significant?
It's one of our human needs. So we want to feel significant. So we feel like perhaps the more followers, the more likes we get on content, and this,
everyone
that, and the third,
wants to be liked.
they feel significant. They feel special. They feel like they matter. But the best way to feel significant and the best way to matter is to show up for this world and offer something that's of service to your fellow man.
Yeah.
That right there is the way of feeling significant.
Be of service. Remember, we're not here just to consume. We're here to create.
Wealth is spendable. Services can be rendered. Goods can be used. But fame just sounds nice.
People will know your name, but what will it really get you?
Right. And our final point is that wealth can make you famous, but fame doesn't necessarily make you wealthy. And what comes to mind is I think of like Gary Vaynerchuk. He has a phenomenal social media reach. And people tend to assume that he's rich because he has a phenomenal social media reach. But in fact, he has a phenomenal social media reach because he was already wealthy. He invested in companies like Twitter and Facebook and Uber before they popped off Bitcoin or whatnot. He saw their value. He became rich, and he started telling people that you gotta do these things to fulfill your dreams and whatnot. And he puts out a lot of motivational content. But that's not the reason why he's rich. He's rich because he took action, because he invested in products and goods and services. Kevin Leary from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful is what they call him. I think that's his social media catchphrase or name or handle. Thank you. Social media handle. But he's rich because he's amassed a crazy portfolio of investments, real estate, this, that, and the third. Damon John of Shark Tank.
And now he's famous because
he's wealthy and he's on Shark Tank.
but it all comes back to they were of service first. They decided within themselves to be a leader in their life, to go out there and to educate themselves, to invest in themselves, to learn the skills necessary to be smart and savvy entrepreneurs. And because they exchanged those goods and services, they amassed wealth, and then they used that in smart ways to also then leverage those social platforms, and now they're well known and have built legacy for themselves and are famous because of it.
Absolutely. You need to focus. If you want to, gaining followers can tend to be a selfish thing, but goods and services is a selfless thing because you're looking at your fellow man and looking at ways and creating ways on how to improve one another's life.
That's a good point. If you find yourself saying like, I've got to get more followers, my friend, you're taking the wrong approach. Be someone who is of service and is saying, I've got to maybe reach more people. I've got to tell more people how to transform their lives. I've got to be of greater service to more people. And then with that will come the wealth and the fame.
Absolutely. I'm thinking like I have to get more followers as opposed to I have to give more service. Yeah.
So let me just make sure, did we cover what we promised, which was defining the 3 differences between wealth and fame?
I think so.
You want to recap it?
Sure. Wealth comes from goods and services. Wealth is something that is spendable, and wealth can get you fame.
But fame doesn't necessarily get you wealth. So I want to hear from you. Let's take this conversation a little bit further. Why don't you join us over inside of the Mojo Insiders Room and tell us what you think about today's topic.
And you can do that by going to coffeewithmojo.com, joining our mailing list, and we'll invite you to our VIP area.
Yeah, just sign up for our email list and we'll send you special invite instructions on how to meet us on the inside.
I absolutely enjoyed this conversation, and I'm glad that you were here to have it with me, and I hope that you come back next week at Coffee with Mojo.
Until then, keep striving to master your mind and to live your legacy.